was held and possessed by the four of you.
I object to the witness's answer the question.
When you were testifying about the firearm that each of you had, was this one of the firearms?
No.
Okay. And thank you for letting me do that outside the presence of the jury, because otherwise the jury would have heard that answer.
Hello, hello, hello. It's Johnny Mike Garvin coming to you from Chicago. As usual, sorry I missed a little bit. I had court this morning, so I hopped in here. Tell me in the chat if I need to go back, if there were fireworks that I missed, or if we should just carry on from where we are. Go back a few minutes. We could always do that and then... There, I'm doing this at 1.5 speed so we catch up. Not that far. Well, let it wait. Give me a point. Now we'll do this. We'll do this for completeness now, and then I'll skip I'll skip the bits and we'll be caught up in no time. What am I, half hour behind? That's what they do. Sorry, my actual law practice got in the way this morning. I won't let it happen again. Damn judges expecting me to show up at hearings. That's what I'm saying. I start all my appearances with, "Do you know who I am?" Wasn't the jury in for the playing of this video? Or they let him out for some reason? Okay. All right. I guess this way we'll have a complete day.
Okay, just one quick audio file or video file, and then I'm done. Alex is not going. I'm not gonna wait 10 minutes. I'm just gonna scroll through for some of it.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask him to, if I may approach.
Yes.
Did you recognize it?
Yes.
Okay, was it fairly inaccurate and represent what happened that day?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Today, yeah. Is this thing on? Okay, speak up nice and loud, okay?
Judge, I'll have an objection to that video, so we'll handle that now.
Yeah.
Judge, the state seeks to use that video through this witness. We would object for the same two reasons that we objected to the previous video coming in. As the court could clearly see, there are several scenes in that video in which Mr. Allen was not present. He wasn't there. There is no possible way that he could authenticate those scenes. And then second, we object that this video is also a clipped, edited version of larger driftwood video. As the court could see, it went back and forth between both different cameras, as well as time-wise. It jumped ahead about an hour at one point. And so for pursuant to the court's pretrial ruling motion to eliminate, we object to those grounds as well.
Starting with the second argument first, Judge, if you can, I don't know if Your Honor was following along. There are two video files, one's raw and then one's the final. So the raw one is what the state's entering as. It's not the same as the other where
Right, so
they're
this one you have
both.
the actual, okay.
Yeah, and that's how it was downloaded. There are times, let me finish, please. There are times that BSO has personnel that goes to the complex, downloads it from the actual surveillance system, taking whatever it is that is necessary or relevant. And there are times that BSO takes the whole system back to the police department, and then we have a bunch of different camera angles. This is what we have. This is how we have it. So the objection, really, there's no way for me to respond to that because this is all that we have. So we did not take the entire system like with the other camera, and where we would have it survive like the other camera.
As to that issue, Judge, Ms. Shield is mistaken. I have the entire thing on my desk, on my laptop here. I observed it during the evidence review. And give me a moment, I can pull what we have up.
While he's doing that, are you,
I was at the evidence view. These are all the discs that I've ever had. So if he has it, then I mean I can enter it, but this is all I've ever had.
It's a compressed folder, Judge. So
The additional thing that I would add to my argument with respect to the inability for this witness to authenticate it is the same argument yesterday. This witness can authenticate it. It's a parking lot. The nature of what is happening and what he saw and what he observed doesn't change from one scene to the next. And so I would argue that it can be properly authenticated. That way he indicated, and I believe he's able to see himself on scene as well, and was with the individuals before, during, and after the accident.
while you're waiting for that to come up, are you indicating then that the file, that compressed file that contains the entire video portion is different from the file contained on that disk? Not the one that was shown, but states indicating that there are two files on that disk, one being the complete, one being the edited.
that is my memory from when I watched it at the evidence view. It's not letting me open the file. I don't know if I downloaded it wrong or what, but I observed a disk during the evidence view called RPAS, which is a zip drive, which I downloaded on my computer, but I'm having a hard time opening it now. guess if we take, if what Mrs. Shield, sorry, if what Mrs. Shield is saying is accurate, and I believe Mrs. Shield that that's how she believes it to be, then we should have the individual that properly authenticated, the individual who actually cut it and downloaded it and chose which scenes to splice is the only proper individual to authenticate this video. Certainly not somebody who had nothing to do with that, and even more importantly, isn't even in half of the scenes.
As to that, Judge, I mean, I have that person on my witness list. That person is available. That can easily be remedied for today, obviously, because of the nature of this witness's custody status. I believe that this video can be properly authenticated. It already has been. I believe the foundation meets the criteria under the rules of evidence. I can enter whatever the compressed file is if he's having trouble. I can't do it right now, but I can sort that out, whether it's over lunch or later today. I can't guarantee that that witness will be today, but I can certainly do that for the close of my case. So that's not something that is an issue that I can remedy before the close of my case. But as for today, I do believe it's properly authenticated.
Court's ruling will be similar to that of the previous video. The state will enter the entire unclipped version into evidence, and with respect to authentication, again, a person who's familiar with the scene, captured by a rolling video camera, and who sees the front end, back end, and is familiar with the area, and indicates that this continuous rolling film is a fair and accurate representation is sufficient without bringing the exact operator, the person who set up the camera, or any of those other things. As long as the individual is familiar with the area, familiar with the scene, you can say this comports to how it appeared on that particular day. So.
Yes, Judge. In addition, the state showed me a mugshot of Mr. Boatwright that it intends to introduce. We object on both relevance and 403 grounds. His mugshot is not relevant, and showing his mugshot is, if there is any relevance, it's not that we're going to vote.
And Judge, on behalf of Mr. Newsom, I would join both objections. I understand they have a mugshot.
I'm sorry, I can speak up because a lot of people.
I'm sorry, I'm joining in the objection as raised, as well as because my client is depicted in one of those mugshots.
I vote as well, Judge. On behalf of the state.
Good morning, Your Honor. Alexandra Buckland, Bath State. Well, I was assuming I was only responding to one objection because counsel said they had no objection previously when I showed it to them this morning. However, I believe Mr. Shield is going to utilize these to ask the witness if this is what they look like at the time during the homicide. The answer booking photos in most trials, it is relevant evidence as to how they looked at the time, not as just how they sit here today. So we do believe that we can authenticate these through this witness. Additionally, I did show them, I know they're not making any objections currently, but I just want the record to clear. I also did show them a photograph, 2 photographs of a firearm that was described by the witness on the stand currently that we intend to also introduce.
Just to respond to the mugshot, that this witness has already identified Mr. Boatwright at least twice here in court. The testimony has been that the shooter was masked. There is no eyewitness testimony issue here that where what he looked like in the mugshot would somehow substantiate, evidence that was important. There's just no reason to do it other than to show the jury a mugshot.
Judge, they put it at issue in the opening statement, and I've also gotten into it at during Mr. Allen's direct. Identity is at issue in this case for all 3 defendants, specifically Mr. Boatwright. There's been some suggestion, well, more than suggestion, that he outright is saying that he wasn't there, and that he was at his grandmother's house sleeping. But also, there had been, it's been put out there that a witness, Keith Braley, who the jury has seen, was at Reba Motorsports at the counter, could have been the shooter. And so it's important, not just because they've been identified in court, how they look in 2023, but it's important how they looked on June 18th, 2018, which is what these photographs show.
She's good.
All right. First of all, we refer to them as
Andrew's gotten to you.
mugshot photos because we know what they are. I think if you ask a person on the street what a mugshot photo is, their common perception would be the person holding up the little thing with the name and numbers, and these are just headshots. Now, obviously, those of us in the system and who deal with this on a daily basis, it's clear they're all wearing their similar tan-colored garb, which we know where that comes from. However, the pictures themselves don't necessarily suggest when and where they're taken. I think it's a stretch to think that the jury is not aware that all three of the defendants were arrested at some point and that they were photographed. So I don't see that the prejudicial effect somehow outweighs the probative value for the state to be able to demonstrate what their appearance was like at the time of the incident or at the time of the test, given that a number of years have passed.
Nice work, Judge.
Judge, I was gonna also let you know that we did.
There's a
just
good
deliver
rationale for his
the
ruling
drive of the
on the
surveillance
record.
video That contains everything.
From Reba.
Well, the drive contains every piece of surveillance that we collected from every store. So what I will do over lunch is have my IT department pull them out and put them on separate drives.
And they can look at it, they being the defense attorneys can look at it as well.
Thank you. And then we will introduce those as well. Hearing objections. Okay, anything else?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Oh, wait, did you show?
No, Your Honor.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Oh, no, I did not.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, one more thing, just the photographs that we already showed the defense. I apologize, I thought Ms. Buckaloon.
Well, you don't need to show him now, you can show him.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not.
We're 20-some
It's not
minutes
like something
behind and
that's
catching
controlled.
up.
You can-
Oh, okay.
You
no
can bring
problem.
them up like you would any other witness on the stand. You recognize this, who's that? All right, and then enter and publish. So, are we ready to get underway?
We're good, Judge.
Yes, Judge.
Thank
Are
you,
they
Jason.
still down there or are they here? Bring them into the room, let me know when they're all there. Yeah, it's like an IC.
Judge, just before the jury comes in, I'm sorry, the one picture that I do think is important to show the witness prior to, just in case if there's an issue, it could have a prejudicial
1.25.
effect. If it's not correct, I would rather do that now than in front of the jury. It's the one that you guys have seen. Because there would be a suggestion that there was another firearm that was involved that wasn't. Do you recognize it?
Yes.
Whose gun? Then?
No.
Okay, What about?
It's not what the world needs, Maria.
I can't hear the witness.
He said it's a different gun than the one that Newsom had. I'm trying to authenticate the gun in the photograph.
Judge, can we do this? I want to do this in front of the jury. If he hesitates, I want the jury to see his reaction, because what I just saw was somebody who did not recognize that firearm.
The problem is that if I do it in front of the jury, and because this is one of the guns that was collected, that maybe, let me,
Telling the jury, now we're telling the witness more about the gun, that he's supposed to be the one authenticating.
Judge,
Objects to doing this in front of Mr. Allen.
Sidebar.
what the state is showing you. There's two photographs.
Yes.
How do you recognize it?
So you have a go, yeah.
Who had, be specific, who had that gun?
Every one of us.
Okay? When you were testifying about a firearm that was held and possessed by the four of you,
I object to the witness's answer the question.
when you were testifying about the firearm that each of you had, was this one of the firearms?
No.
Okay. And thank you for letting me do that outside the presence of the jury, because otherwise the jury would have heard that answer.
Okay, so turtlenecks are a theme. You had to get the 5-color pack to get through this trial. Oh, good Lord. I haven't thought about that since middle school here.
All right, we good? Ready to go?
Yes,
All ready
Your
back
Honor.
there? All right, come on. Very well. All right, we'll pick up where we were yesterday. You are Robert Allen?
Yes.
You're the same Robert Allen that was here yesterday?
Yes.
I remind you, sir, you are still under oath. State your name.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Allen.
Good morning.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this hopefully once, and we won't have to repeat it. Can you please, for today, speak up nice and loud as I'm speaking. I know I naturally speak loud, into that microphone, okay? And if I see that you're getting a little dull, I'm gonna remind you. So please be mindful of that today, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. All right, I believe yesterday, one of the things that we went over was immediately after the homicide, you indicated that yourself, Michael Boatwright, Trayvon Newsome went somewhere in the area of your house and were in the Dodge Journey. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And you're aware that some of the things that you talked about, specifically with the car accident that happened with the Dodge Journey, was memorialized by surveillance video by one of the complexes that it happened in front of. You're aware?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you what has been pre-marked for identification as states C, I believe. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Do you recognize state C, that C for Charlie?
Yes.
How do you recognize it?
My initials and the date.
Okay. And does it fairly and accurately represent what you recall happened on June 18th, 2018, immediately after the homicide?
Yes.
At this time, I move into evidence states C as states 3.
Any additional objections?
Permission to put out of
You may.
Do you want this or? Well, actually, I'll give it to.
You watched this video this morning, correct?
Yes.
And am I correct that there are multiple scenes in this video that you are not in?
Yes.
Because you are not in those scenes, you did not see what was going on around at that time, correct?
Yes.
Nothing further, all of our renewal of our suggestions.
All right, overruled. Joining? Overruled. What was previously marked states C for identification shall be received in evidence as states 3. You may publish at will.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would we be able to please have the lights dimmed again as well? Thank you.
Once it's up and running.
Thank you, Judge. While Ms. Buckaloo is preparing the video for us to see, same like yesterday, I'm going to allow the video to be played all the way through, and then I will ask you questions about it as I'm pausing certain portions. Okay, Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Good job on keeping your voice nice and loud.
Permission to reposition?
Yeah.
the best parking lots in the country. Tune into Law Talk with Mike. Thank you. Thank you. We have a Janelle spotting. The cones are dying. Oh, Lord. Glass is breaking, the whole deal. All right. We have a special date with Janelle on Valentine's Day. Our little Lonely Hearts Club meeting. Just me, Judge Simpson, and a few of my closest friends. To see if Janelle got her license. Oh, you're sweet. Thank you, Nada. That is a good note. Well, there's a lot that goes on in Discord. Most of it I don't understand. I tripped across the meme section of my own Discord, and it's fantastic. It really is. Neither do I. It's awkward, but I do. There are a lot of people in there who do understand, which is helpful. Honestly, I don't know, but she's going to question the witness afterwards about it, so then we'll find out then. I'd like to drop some wisdom, but I don't know what the hell's going on. I imagine our fearless prosecutor will inform us via questions to the witness. Yeah, I see that, Andrew. Stick with backpack jokes. I'm sure you'll get pushback from a backpack. I'm sure. They're in the running. They're in the running. And that's saying something because criminals, by and large, not too bright. Oh, good Lord. I don't know if you're serious, but if somebody called an Uber to the scene of the to the scene of the crime to just create one more digital footprint, placing them there at the scene. I don't know if that's true, but it's funny to contemplate.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Allen, we're gonna go over stage 3 because there's some things that I'd like for you to identify for us, please. And so it's replaying now, and I'm gonna fast forward to some parts, and then just like yesterday, pause and ask you a couple of questions. pausing it at 33 seconds, and there is a car that is in the intersection in the frame that I paused it at. Do you see that car? It appears to be like an SUV or van or some sort.
Yes,
What car is that?
Dodge Journey.
And the Dodge Journey that you referred to yesterday that was used in the commission of this homicide?
Yes,
Who's in the car at this point?
Michael Boatwright, Trayvon Newsom, and me,
Who's driving, if you recall?
and Dietrich.
Dietrich's driving right now?
Yes,
Okay, so you see that there is a time frame stamp and date stamp at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Do you see that?
Yeah.
What I'd like to know is it accurate in relation to the time frame of when the homicide occurred at Riva Motorsports?
yes,
Okay, so when we see the vehicle right now in this frame, this is roughly an hour, and I'm estimating about an hour and some change after the homicide occurred.
yes,
Oh, one other thing, I paused it at 39 seconds. Where's the car turning, that street? Where's the car turning to?
on 17th Court is going to my house.
Okay, so you live actually down that street that the car just turned on?
Yes,
How far down that street do you live?
maybe 3 houses.
3 houses down? Okay.
Yes,
And, all right, so I'll ask you some more questions about it. Now pausing it at 1 minute and 9 seconds. Are you able to see if there's any cars in that frame
Yes.
that you recognize?
I wanted to cover all the
coming from your
bases.
street?
People.
What is the car that you recognize?
Dodge Journey.
And at this point, do you know who's driving?
Yes,
Who?
Michael Boatwright.
Now, you testified yesterday that Michael Boatwright and Trayvon Newsom were living with you during this time.
Yes,
As a result of them living with you, did Michael Boatwright, starting with Michael Boatwright, have clothes and shoes and personal items
I
and
think he
effects
kept it
at your
cleaned
house that we see the car coming from?
yes,
Did Trayvon Newsom have clothes, personal items, shoes, things like that at your house that we see the car coming from?
yes,
While at your house, immediately after the homicide, did Michael Boatwright remain in the same clothing that he was in when he committed the homicide against the victim, Jose Onfoy?
no,
Did Trayvon Newsom remain in the same clothing that he had on at Riva Motorsports when he committed the homicide earlier that day?
no,
How about Dietrich Williams? Did he remain in the same clothing that when he committed the homicide earlier that day against the victim?
I don't know.
Okay. Now, when you say you don't know, did Dietrich Williams remain with you, Michael Boatwright, and Trayvon Newsom
No,
at your house?
no,
How did he leave?
he left through Uber.
And did you remain in the same clothing that you had on at Riva Motorsports when you committed the homicide earlier that day?
No,
What did you change into?
a red polo shirt,
What did Michael Boatwright change into?
a black champion shirt, camouflage pants, a camouflage hat, black shoes.
What did Trayvon
Subtitles.
Newsom change into?
Drug Mark Wahlberg into this.
T-shirt, some blue looking jeans, and some Jordans.
Okay. I'm pausing it at 1 minute and 40 seconds. Do you recognize any of the vehicles in that frame?
Yes,
What is the vehicle that you recognize?
Dodge Journey.
Okay, and do you know anyone that lives at this apartment complex?
No,
Did you, Michael Boatwright, or Trayvon Newsom, go to anyone's apartment in that apartment complex at the time that we're looking at right now?
no,
Why then is the Dodge Journey being parked at that apartment complex as opposed to your house, which is roughly a block away across the street?
because I didn't want the car in front of my house,
Why?
because it was just an emergency.
Okay, so was it an attempt to evade detection?
Yes,
At the point that we see the Dodge Journey, when you're trying to park it in a different complex so it's not in front of your house, had you already learned about the fate of the victim, that you and your co-defendants had killed him?
no,
That's quality, Andrew. It really is.
Okay, I'm letting it play. And as we're watching it, do you know the name of this apartment complex?
Driftwood apartment.
Okay, I'm pausing it at 2 minutes and 28 seconds. The Dodge Journey that you've identified that's in the frame, we now see two individuals that have exited the car, one from the driver's side and it looks like one from the passenger side. Do you see that?
Yes.
Who are those individuals?
Michael Boatwright, Trayvon Newsom.
Okay, so we're gonna see closer frames, but are you able to identify who exited the driver's side of the car?
Yes.
Who is that?
Michael Boatwright.
And there's an individual that exited the passenger side of the car. Who's that?
Trayvon Newsom.
Okay, and I'm pausing it again at 2 minutes and 33 seconds. Are you in the car with them at this point?
No.
Okay, you had seen them at your house,
Yes.
and immediately after this, did they come back to your house?
Yes.
Okay, I'm letting it play. Okay, I'm pausing it at 3 minutes and 58 seconds. What color is Trayvon Newsom wearing in that frame?
A white t-shirt.
And describe the rest of his clothing for us.
Like blue jeans, some Jordan.
And what is Michael Boatwright wearing in that frame?
Black t-shirt, camouflage shorts, and camouflage hat.
Okay, this might sound like an obvious silly question, but what we're looking at right now in terms of their height difference, their weight, the way that they walk, the gait of their walk, is it the same as when they were at Riva Motorsports and had killed the victim earlier that day?
Yes.
I'm pausing it again at 4 minutes and 8 seconds. You indicated that Michael Boatwright is wearing the darker colors and a camouflage hat, correct? You remember yesterday when we looked at the surveillance video of Riva Motorsports and you were inside the store at the counter with Dietrich Williams and a third individual that you said you didn't know?
Yes.
Okay. It appears as if, for example, the hat is a camouflage hat as well. How certain are you that this is Michael Boatwright and not that individual that was in Riva Motorsports with you?
100% sure.
How?
For one, it's a different hat.
Okay, and what else?
You know the way Michael looked?
Okay, and you were with him up until that point where he changed?
Yes.
pause it at 3 minutes, 5 minutes and 32 seconds. I know that you had indicated that at some point after the homicide, you and your co-defendants were going to get the car washed on the outside, correct?
Yes.
What, if anything, did you or any of your co-defendants do to sanitize or to try to clean the inside of the car?
Throw away trash.
Throw away trash? Did any of you try to remove your fingerprints from the car?
No.
How about wipe anything down regarding where you may have touched for your DNA?
No.
Probably would have been a good idea, to be honest. Which does make me think we probably have some DNA expert coming.
I'm pausing it at 6 minutes and 57 seconds. Who's the individual that we see walking onto the frame?
Michael Bogart.
Okay, and specifically looking at his physical description, his walk, the gait of his walk, are you able to tell us based on that, on what we're looking at, what you know about Michael Boatwright, and then also what you observed from the individual that was with you earlier in the day at the counter? What did you observe as different from the two men?
Looks like a guy. The other guy was a little heavier
Okay,
and possibly a little shorter. And it's a different hat.
all right.
I could not understand the testimony on the split of the proceeds. I got that he got 5 and everyone else got 15, but I don't know why he got
I am
a lower
pausing it
amount,
at 8 minutes and
or why he
44
claimed.
seconds on the player, and on the screen, it's showing at 6:45:48 p.m. Do you recognize any of the cars in that frame?
Yes.
What is the car you recognize?
Dodge Journey.
Letting it play. I'm gonna pause it just for a second. You said that, it's paused at 9 minutes and 4 seconds. You said that at this point that we're looking at, you had not learned that Jose Envoy was killed, correct?
Yes.
Did, at any point, Michael Boatwright ask you why you were parking the car, or he had to get the car from across the street?
No.
He didn't find that odd?
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Oh yeah, it's universal for
When an
bad boys
objection is
everywhere.
sustained.
Disregard the last answer.
Anytime the judge sustains an objection, don't answer the question. Okay. All right. As far as Trayvon Newsom, did he ask you at any point, why are we parking the car across the street and not at your house?
No.
Fast forward a little bit. Okay, so if you could please look at the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Do you recognize any of the cars that are in the intersection of the right-hand upper corner of the screen?
Yes.
What is the car that you recognize?
Dodge Journey.
Who's driving at that time?
Michael Moore.
And I paused it at 11 minutes and 55 seconds, and the timestamp on the video says 6:48:48 p.m. And letting it play. Okay, I paused it. Did you see where the collision occurred?
Yes.
Now, what direction did you run in?
Mm,
Did you run to the left, right,
to the
top of the screen? Where did you run?
right, to the right.
Now, where we're looking at, it is your left or your right?
To my right.
And where did Trayvon Newsom run?
To my right.
Where did Michael Boatwright run, from what you could tell?
To my left.
Do you see yourself on screen? I'm gonna pause it. 12 minutes and 20 seconds. Do you see yourself on screen?
Yes.
Identify yourself. What are you wearing in this frame?
I have on a red polo shirt, khaki pants, and blue Timberland.
And that's what you changed it into after the homicide?
Yes.
Why did the three of you change after the homicide from what you were wearing at Riva Motorsports?
Because we didn't want to be seen with the same clothes on.
Now, the three of you had just gotten into this car accident, but yet, I'm pausing it at 14 minutes and 1 second. The three of you just got into this car accident. At the point that you got into the car accident that we see, had you known that you had already killed the victim?
Yes.
Okay, so why, at this point then, did the three of you bail out of that car?
They want attachments to the car.
Yeah, all the defense attorneys will have a chance to cross them if they choose to use it.
Okay, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit.
And I think they will.
Fast forward a little bit too much. Okay. I'm pausing it at 16 minutes and 32 seconds. Do you recognize that sedan
Yes.
that's at the stop sign?
Yes.
Who is that opened the driver's door and appears to be waving to somebody down the street?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you know, you said you recognize the sedan. How do you recognize the sedan?
Because I got into the car.
So if you don't know the person that's waving, are they waving at you?
Yes.
Why would then you get into the car?
They told me that Michael was in the car.
Okay. Let's watch a little bit further. Okay, I'm pausing it at 16 minutes and 48 seconds. Who did we just see get into the back seat of that sedan?
Me.
And when you got into the back seat of that sedan, who else was in the vehicle?
Michael Boatwright.
And who else?
Some female.
Is that the person who was waving and driving?
Yes.
Okay. Where was Michael Boatwright seated in that sedan that we see the sedan, but obviously we can't see inside because of tinted windows?
Back passenger.
Did you at any point discuss with Michael what just happened, with respect to the collision that just occurred or anything like that?
No.
You attack his credibility for cutting a deal. Plain and simple. Plus more than that, but that's the starting point.
Where did the female that was driving you and co-defendant Michael Boatwright go from there? We see her make a right turn.
She took us into a neighborhood called Village.
Why that neighborhood?
That's where we wanted to go.
Pretty much. What he's
Do
saying
you know at this time where Michael Boatwright's grandmother lived?
in conjunction with the video
Was it in that
makes
neighborhood?
sense.
No,
Earlier that day, at any point, were you aware, because I'm asking because of who you were with, was Michael Boatwright at his grandmother's house on June 18th, 2018?
no,
How do you know that?
because he was with me.
One moment, Your Honor. Yesterday you talked about, the money that was stolen from Jose on for the $50,000 and how that was divided amongst the four of you. What happened to the Louis Vuitton bag that the money was contained in?
I don't know.
Who did you last see it with out of you and your three co-defendants?
Michael Boatwright and Trayvon Newsom.
Okay, you last saw it in their possession?
Yes,
Did they ever tell you, they being Michael Boatwright and Trayvon Newsom, what they did with the bag?
no,
Did you ever ask?
no,
And when was the last time you saw the bag? Was it the day that the four of you killed the victim?
yes,
Okay, I'm gonna show you what's been pre-marked for identification. As states D as in David. May I approach, Your Honor?
May.
Do you recognize it?
yes.
How do you recognize it?
Deidre Williams.
Okay, and does it fairly and accurately represent what Dietrich Williams looked like on the day of the homicide, June 18th, 2018?
Yes,
At this time, I move into evidence states D as states 4.
I'll renew our previous objection.
Without objection, and over objection, what was previously marked states D for identification shall be received in evidence as states 4. You may publish it.
Okay, thank you. I'm now gonna be showing you what's been marked for identification as states E. E is echo. May I approach?
May.
Do you recognize states E?
yes.
How do you recognize states E?
Trayvon Newsom.
And does it fairly and accurately represent what Trayvon Newsom looked like on June 18th, 2018, the day that the victim was killed?
Yes,
At this time, I move into evidence states E as states 5.
No additional objection.
I'll renew our previous objection.
Over previous objections, what was previously marked states E for identification shall be received in evidence as states 5. You may publish at will.
I'm showing you what's been pre-marked for identification as states F. F is in Frank.
She is very smooth. This looks simple, and in a sense it is, but there is so much to keep
you recognize
straight
states
in
F?
your head.
yes.
How do you recognize states F?
It's Michael Boatwright.
And does it fairly and accurately represent what Michael Boatwright looked like on June 18th, 2018, when he killed the victim in this case?
Yes,
At this time, I move into evidence states F as states 6.
She's just doing a really nice job. It's all I'm saying is it's harder than it looks, and she's really doing a nice job.
After identification shall be received in evidence as states 6. You may publish at will.
Thank you. May I approach?
You may.
I'm showing you what's been previously marked for identification as states G. Do you recognize states G?
yes.
How do you recognize states G?
It's me.
And does it fairly and accurately represent what you looked like on June 18th when you killed the victim?
Yes,
At this
This-
time, I move into evidence states G as states 7.
This would be a great example to show law students on laying foundations mid-trial. It would be a great
Without objection,
example.
what was previously marked states G for identification shall be received in evidence as states 7. You may publish at will.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to be publishing State's Exhibit 4, which is Dietrich Williams, what he looked like on the day of the homicide. States 5, which is Trayvon Newsom, what he looked like on the day of the homicide. States 6, Michael Boatwright, what he looked like on the day of the homicide. States 7, Robert Allen, what he looked like on the day of the homicide. And I'm showing the jury states, at this time states 4 right now. Okay, so we're looking at a picture of Dietrich Williams. So he had all of those tattoos on the day of the homicide on his face, just like that?
Yes.
And then we can also see some tattooing on his neck. Was that also representative of what he had on the day of the homicide? I know it's covered up right now, but can you see it clearly? It was like that on the day of the homicide?
Yes.
I'm showing states 5 to the jury. Trayvon Newsom. He also has some tattooing on his neck, and I can tell that it's covered up right now with his tie, but was it like that on the day of the homicide?
Yes.
Boom. He puts all the turtlenecks on to avoid it. She pulls out a picture of it, which makes sense because identification is a prime issue in this case. They don't have much of a defense,
I'm
but to the
showing
extent they have one, that's
states
it.
6, Michael Boatwright. Is that what Michael Boatwright looked on the day of the homicide?
Yes.
And in particular, the day of the homicide, regarding facial hair, we saw that the gentleman that was at the counter with you at Reba Motorsports had significant goatee. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Did Michael Boatwright have that same facial hair the day of the homicide?
Yes.
I'm talking about, when I say facial hair, I'm talking about the facial hair that we see there. Did he have a goatee and shave it?
No.
Or was he clean shaven like this?
Clean shaven like that.
I'm now showing the jury state 7, which is you, correct?
Yes.
It's a cry for attention.
And this is what
Plain
you
and
look like
simple.
on the day of the homicide?
Yes.
Is this also with respect to states 4, 5, 6, and 7, how all of you weighed in terms of the weight that you had on the day of the homicide?
Yes.
Now, which happened first? Were you indicted for first degree murder first, or were you arrested first?
I was indicted first.
Okay. Do you remember what day you were arrested?
Yes.
What's the day you were arrested?
July 25th,
Of what year?
2018,
Where were you arrested?
Georgia.
Why were you in Georgia as opposed to Broward County where the homicide occurred?
The tint controversy never ends.
You have, remember,
I
you
didn't
had an
want
agreement that you're gonna speak nice and loud.
to be captured.
And what were you
Just
concerned
never
about being
ends.
captured for at that point?
Homicide.
At the time, right before you were arrested, had you spoken to, for example, Michael Boatwright? Was he still in Georgia with you?
You said, say it again?
Just before July 25th, when you were arrested in 2018, was Michael Boatwright still with you in Georgia?
No.
You
That's
left
the mark.
Broward County to go
Well,
up to Georgia,
fine
with him,
gentleman
correct?
right there. Oh, yeah.
Did
You see the
Michael
distinction.
Boatwright leave you in Georgia before or after the victim died?
He left me in Georgia after the victim died.
Okay, so the two of you already knew that the victim had died when the both of you were in Georgia.
Yes.
Do you know where Michael Boatwright went after he left Georgia?
Judgment calls for speculation.
You know,
Do you know?
No.
Okay. Had you discussed with Michael Boatwright the fact that now that you both were aware the victim had died from his injuries?
No.
When you were arrested July 25th in 2018, you went to a police station in Georgia?
Yes.
Do you remember what county you were in?
Dodge County.
While you were in custody in Dodge County, you were arrested for first degree murder?
Yes.
Do you recall in Dodge County speaking to a lead detective, in this case, Detective John Curcio, while you were in custody in Georgia?
Yes.
How did you talk to him? Did you talk to him in person or through video chat? How?
Over the phone.
Okay. And when you spoke to him on July 25th?
Yes.
How long after you were arrested did you talk to Detective John Curcio?
Couple hours.
Okay, so you'd only been in custody a couple of hours.
Yes.
You were, in order to speak to him, did you waive your rights to Miranda and your right to counsel and speak to him about your involvement as you were willing to tell it that day?
Yes.
Okay, so the first time that you waived your rights and spoke to law enforcement about your involvement in this homicide was the day you were arrested?
Yes.
Not, today is not the first time, or yesterday's not the first time, correct?
Yes.
Do I have an objection?
Okay, was that just a quickie sidebar? Or do I need to fast forward here?
Are we, I guess that, are we admitting some evidence?
No, I'm showing him with regard to the date. I believe the date is incorrect.
I object, there's been no reason to
It's the
say
same.
that. It's like,
Do you remember the date that you spoke to Detective Curcio in person?
I spoke to him twice in person.
Do you remember the first date that you spoke to him in person?
I think the 26th or 27th, I don't remember.
Okay, would it refresh your recollection if I showed you your statement when you spoke to him in person?
Yes.
May I approach?
You may.
Take a look, and does the statement that I'm showing you memorialize the date that it was taken, that you spoke to Detective Curcio in person?
Yes.
What's the date?
July 26th.
So now, do you recall that you spoke to him one day in person after you were arrested?
Yes.
can I see that, please? Is there a question?
County, taken from in order for you to be taken from Georgia back to Broward County, you voluntarily agreed not to fight extradition, correct?
Yes.
In addition to that cooperation, do you recall again speaking to, this time, Detective Curcio, a member of the state attorney's office, and I believe it was an investigator also from the state attorney's office, on October 23rd, 2018?
Yes.
And that was at your own free will, you volunteered to do that. I believe you had your attorney present as well, correct?
Yes.
And at that time, still the same year that the homicide occurred, in 2018, did you give more detail about what your involvement was and what you believe the involvement was of your co-defendants at that time?
Yes.
October 23rd, 2018, had you decided, or did you yet decide to enter a guilty plea at that point?
No.
Okay, was anything promised to you initially in that first statement that you gave mere hours after you were arrested for first-degree murder? Was anything promised to you to give that statement?
No.
Were you given any conditions that if you give the statement, your charges will change, or you'll get a lower charge or lower sentence, or anything like that?
No.
How about the second statement in person to Detective Curcio? Was anything promised to you to give that statement?
Iris,
No.
still on.
How about the
Still on
third
direct
statement, still of the same year that the victim was killed? Was anything promised to you by either law enforcement from BSO or the state attorney's office for you to give that statement?
No.
You then gave a fourth and final statement, I believe it was December 8th of 2022, to myself. You recall that?
Yes.
Detective Curcio was there. You recall that?
Yes.
An investigator from the state attorney's office. And I believe in that fourth statement, oh, I'm sorry, not December 8th, July 28th, you gave a fourth statement. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay, in that statement, that was the statement to me on July 28th where Detective Curcio was there and also an investigator from the state attorney's office. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And at that time, did anyone, whether it was myself or someone connected with the state attorney's office or BSO, give you any indication that you would get any particular sentence in order to give that statement?
No.
How about a change of charge or any preferential treatment to give that statement?
No.
Did you give that statement voluntarily?
Yes.
Shortly after that statement, I
You know
believe
he
it
was Mirandized
August
too.
10th is when you
Didn't-
entered a guilty plea, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Didn't think it was time for an
And
attorney.
After you gave, you entered a guilty plea as to your involvement in this case, you were also deposed on December 8th. Do you remember that?
Yes.
At the deposition, do you remember who was present?
Yes.
Was I present?
Yes.
Was Ms. Buckaloo present?
Yes.
How about Mr. Kimoff or his co-counsel on behalf of Mr. Goldbright?
Yes.
How about Mr. Ramirez on behalf of Mr. Newsom?
Absolutely.
And how about Mr. Padilla on behalf of Mr. Williams?
She's
Yeah.
And
anticipating
at that deposition, you were placed under oath
what the cross will be.
and you testified about whatever it was that you knew regarding this case, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so by my count, that's 5 statements, either under oath or voluntary that you've given in this case, correct? Prior to testifying yesterday and today.
Yes.
Now, you're aware that when you give a statement under oath, and if you are not truthful in that statement, you understand that that means that you're lying under oath.
Do not object to the reinforcing the credibility of the witness.
Showing his leading as well.
You can save this for reader next.
My next question, moving on. Were you minimizing certain things that you did and your role in this case when you gave the initial statement on July 25th to Detective Curcio?
Yes.
How about for the second statement, July 26th to Detective Curcio?
Yes.
What about the October 23rd, 2018 statement? Did you minimize your role of what you did in that statement to the state attorney's office and to Detective Curcio?
Yes.
Did you do any minimizing for the statement that you gave on June 28th to myself and Detective Curcio?
No.
Okay, so for the 3 statements that that I referenced, that you did minimize what you did, why did you do that?
I didn't. There was a certain state prosecutor at the time I didn't trust.
Did you trust law enforcement?
No.
One moment, Your Honor. All right, I'm sorry, I keep referring to my statement as July, it's possible it's June, I was there, so, but it may have been in June, but it was of 2022, you recall that?
Yes.
Now, with respect to what exactly did you minimize? Let's go over that in your prior statements.
Like saying I didn't have a gun,
That was a lie?
yes,
And so if you had previously said you didn't have a gun, what's the truth?
I had a gun.
What else did you minimize?
That I didn't know why the guns was in the car,
Was that a lie?
yes,
What's the truth?
that I knew it was guns in the car,
Now, when you say guns, are you referring to guns plural, not just the gun that you had?
yes.
Why were you trying to minimize, for example, the fact that there wasn't additional guns from, that was in possession of the co-defendants? Were you trying to protect them?
Yes.
What else did you minimize?
Can't remember.
Okay. And so if these statements are pointed out to you by either myself or any other counsel, will you explain that to us, please, as it's brought out to you?
Objection, calls for speculation, denigrating defense.
It's the same.
Now, we talked a little bit about who received what in terms of the cash that was divvied up between the four of you. You recall that?
Yes.
You received $5,000. What did you do with your $5,000?
I can't remember.
Okay. Did you ever take any of the portion of $5,000 and, for example, return it back to law enforcement when you were arrested in July?
No,
Okay, so by July, the time that you were apprehended and arrested in Dodge County where was the money?
I can't remember.
Okay. How about the $15,000 that Michael Boatwright had? Do you know what he did with it?
No,
How about the $15,000 that Trayvon Newsom had? Do you know what he did with it?
no,
How about the $15,000 that Dietrich Williams had? Do you know what he did with it?
no,
There are photos where you're flashing some cash. You recall having photos that may have circulated on social media?
yes,
Is that cash, was that cash from the spoils of this robbery?
Objection, if we could be more specific as to which photos are being discussed.
There's a lot of photos of that. So we have no idea.
We might need to sidebar judge.
Hold on. Yeah. Come back up.
I can't even skip it now because we're up to speed. We are up to speed, people, with the trial. How long has this guy been on? I'm trying to think. Yesterday we started with the Jamaican Boomhauer for a little bit, and then it's been him ever since. I know it was all afternoon, and we're not even through direct exam yet. However, they're using, appropriately so, they're using this witness to enter all the video in the case. So this is the guts of the case. This is an important witness. You're going to have to enter those videos through a witness to lay a foundation and then show them. And this is the guy to do it with. So what the state's doing makes a lot of sense. And they don't care. They just, they think it takes what it takes. That's it.
Yourself into jail right now.
That ain't gonna happen. I'm guessing based upon the testimony here, I'm guessing that they're going to bring in a DNA because of the testimony she was eliciting. I'm guessing they're going to bring in a DNA expert to place them at the scene in addition to the video and the witnesses. But you need to do all those things. All this, and that's why she went through the photos. All this is they're all going to try to confuse identity, and they have something to play with because they had masks on. So nobody buys this nonsense. We know who they are, and we understand. But you don't want to leave them any wiggle room to make a good reasonable doubt argument, because that's what they're going to do. Not because it's a good argument, because it's the only one available. The only thing they did to cover their crime is wear masks at the actual time of the shooting. In terms of prosecution avoidance, that's the only measure they took. Everything else was just strolling around a store in front of cameras, providing IDs and renting a car. I guess maybe even an Uber we've got in the mix. Everything else is just clear as a bell. But they can point the finger at each other and say, no, he wore the mask. No, he wore the mask.
It is about 10 minutes to 1. We will reconvene at, we'll go 10 after 10.
Well, yes, I have. There's a bar in Chicago, a couple blocks from the courthouse, called Sidebar. That I've imbibed at many a time. I don't know, but if Drake shows up, that'd spice things up a little bit now, wouldn't it?
Anyone else associated with the case in the hallway, they will ignore you. They're not being rude. They're following court orders. Have a great lunch. We will see you back in 10 after.
All right, did anybody catch when it's coming back on? I'm guessing 1, but I don't know.
All right, first, anything else we need to discuss?
No, Judge.
All right. Be here about 5 after.
Anybody in the chat catch it? Well, whatever. I'll come back on when they come back on. Until 5 after. He likes to give an hour 15 for lunch. So, all right, it's noon. So I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'll redo a stream. We'll get going when they come back from lunch. I wanted to announce the time, but I don't know what it is because I didn't hear it. Perhaps I'll slip into something more comfortable. I have my work white shirt on here because I had to crawl out of a grueling Zoom court appearance before we started this thing. All right, I'll see y'all soon.